Hey everyone, thanks for checking out my channel. I hope everyone's staying safe. So as you can see, today I'm filming in my garage. So why, you might ask? Because today I'll be replacing some of my older shelves and finishing the Elfa shelving system that I've already started to set up. So I didn't film the initial install because I was quickly in need of shelves in order to stock up on some of the more essential supplies early on in this pandemic. If you haven't heard of Elfa shelves, they're the shelf and storage system from the Container Store. I initially wanted to build out my shelves over time because these parts can get pretty expensive. What I have set up now cost me about $800 already, and what I just bought and had delivered cost me another $1,200. It really adds up, and I don't even think I'll be complete after I finish setting up what I just bought this round. So stay tuned and we'll get to installing this whole system.
The first thing you need to install when setting up your Elfa shelf system is the top track. This is the core of the entire system and pretty much holds everything together. What's great about this is that it allows for easy assembly and disassembly of the entire system in case you want to take the system down or need to move. It also minimizes the number of holes you have to drill and screws that you need to screw into the wall. The first thing I did was to locate and find all of the studs. This helps to identify how many anchors I would need to make holes for and how many screws I would need to directly screw into the studs themselves. When I previously installed the original track, I lined up a few of the holes in the track to match up with the spacing of the studs, so I would have a good mix of being able to secure this system to the studs and anchors, giving the shelf system more stability and durability. If you're installing this by yourself, it's easiest to secure one end of the upper track first by slightly screwing it into the wall. What this does is it allows you to hang one end of the top track and align the other end, making sure it's completely level. I'd say having a power drill with a lot of torque is key since the screws are pretty long and securing them to the stud is not an easy task, especially when you're standing on a ladder. Before screwing the top track in, make sure you have marked, pre-drilled, and installed the anchors. On a side note, Container Store has probably the best anchors I've ever used. I always buy extra for any other projects that I have which involve installing or affixing things to drywall. These anchors grip into the drywall very nicely and expand easily to keep whatever you install tightly gripped to the wall. Most other anchors that I've used to attach start coming loose and pull away from the wall eventually, or do not actually grip, allowing them to actually expand and anchor to the wall. Once the top track is installed, everything else should be fairly easy. You just need to hang the vertical bars for which everything else hangs onto. One thing to note is that you'll want to install enough vertical bars to ensure that your shelves are supported. That way the shelves don't bend if too much weight is placed on them. 3 vertical bars should be enough to support the weight being put on any shelf. but in some instances you might want to put 4 depending on the length of your shelf to properly distribute the weight. After installing the bars, it's just a matter of installing your shelves, which could take a little time trying to determine a good layout that fits your needs. There were a number of times where I built out the shelves and either had to restart or adjust my layout, just because I wasn't happy with how we set it up. As you can see, I finally did stock up on toilet paper because they were suddenly available again, in order to just avoid any shortages in the future. I think I have enough now to survive the next wave of the virus, which everyone expects will be this winter.
Now, what they don't tell you when you're putting these shelves together is that you need to work from one side to another. What I found out the hard way once I put this whole shelf system together is that parts don't necessarily always fit, or the bars would be crooked, or shelves would not exactly align if I was just putting this together piece by piece, section by section. Instead, what I recommend is going either from left to right or from right to left. Or you'll get something like these shelves where it's offset. It's also important that you count the spaces between and make sure that you're looking at that same spacing for all the shelves that you put together in your system. Because if you don't, your shelves won't align. You can't just put these pieces together all over the place. What I found out the hard way was because I built on one side and then built on another side, and that as I completed everything, shelves would not align and connectors would be slightly crooked. Even the bars in the back were slightly crooked as well, or slanted, because I didn't necessarily count the spacings in each section of the shelves, and that made shelves on different levels crooked. It's easy to put these shelves together, but you need to have some kind of plan in mind. And this is an example of how it was fixed. So if you'll notice on this shelf itself, I connected it so that this section is not inside like that, but half. So what happens is you have to make sure that's done on every single shelf on the same track, going this way. And then you count the spacings for each level of shelf to make sure that the spacings and those lines are aligned the same way. If they're not, even if it's just a millimeter apart, eventually over time, the spacing differences are going to make it very crooked and difficult to align your shelves, and probably takes away from the stability of the shelf itself. Another planning effort that you have to do is make sure you have a design in mind. So Container Store has several different measurements. So as you can see, these are the 16-inch drawers that I got. However, what I ordered also was a 20-inch tabletop, so it would project out past the shelves themselves. So the problem with that is Container Store also discontinues on occasion a lot of the different pieces that they have. So in my case, they no longer carry the 16-inch and 18-inch metal countertops. So I'm going to have to stick with the 20-inch, which projects out past the shelves. I mean, that's okay, but I mean, it would have not been nice to have it flush to this. So now I have to order some more 20-inch shelves and 20-inch brackets, knowing that I had originally ordered 16 and 18 inch brackets and 16 and 18 shelves. So I got this brackets, but I didn't get the top. Instead I got the 20 inch tops, which means I don't have enough brackets to update the shelves themselves, or to attach the shelves themselves. So this project's gonna go unfinished. And because we're in a quarantine, because we're in a stay-at-home situation, those shelves won't be available or won't ship for another week or two. So guys, another thing to think about as you're putting this shelf system together is that although these shelves hang off of one track from the top, and it is very sturdy, there is one thing you need to consider, and that is as you apply more weight to these shelves, they're going to start to pull off the wall. As you can see here, they are starting to pull off the wall. So that's why, you know, at first I didn't understand what these were for and why anyone would want to attach these to hold the shelves, to hold the bars in place. But they are needed because as you add more weight, these bars, as you start to add more weight, these bars are going to start pulling off the wall just because of the sheer weight being pulled down on these shelves. So they're going to start to buckle and pull off of the wall. So you need these little anchors every once in a while to hold them back against the wall. So I would recommend you invest in a couple of these because eventually, you know, this whole bar system is going to fold if it's not secured. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. I definitely learned a lot from putting this system together. And I hope that the tips and tricks that I shared with you as I was going through this process are going to help you when you build your own system. The Elfa system by Container Store is definitely by far not the cheapest solution for your garage and home, but I do like the fact that it is customizable, it is modular, and they have different options for your shelf systems and pretty much can cover anything that you might need to store or build from a shelf perspective. Please feel free to leave any questions or comments in the comments section below, and I'll be happy to answer whatever I can as fast as I can. Anyways, thank you for checking out my video. See you next time.